Hey everybody, Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich here. Thanks for tuning in tonight. We've got another night with some big time storms, and right now we've got a new warning which is in effect for parts of Mecklenburg County, York and Gaston County. I'm going to focus in on that real quickly here. We'll zoom in on the map here. This is the latest warning. You can see it's up until 7:45, and it's this storm which is crossing over Lake Wylie right now. And if you've been in town the last couple days, you know the lightning has been absolutely insane with these storms. A lot of that has to do with the ice crystallization going on in the top of these storms. When we get these storms that explode like this in this intense heat and humidity, if you get ice crystals up there, you tend to get a lot of lightning. But that also produces damaging winds. When you get cold air at the top of these storms and it comes crashing back down, it causes all kinds of issues. So there's our lightning, and I'm going to turn the lightning off in a second after I show it to you because there's so much lightning it's actually hard to see what's going on here. So you can see we've got 252 cloud to ground lightning strikes just in the past 15 minutes. Let me make sure I got this set to 15 minutes. Yeah, that's 15-minute time frame. A lot of you asked about positive and negative strikes. I'll talk more about that, but the big thing you remember, negative strikes make up normally about 90% of lightning strikes. They're bad. The positive strikes make up about 10%. They are a lot worse because they are 10 times stronger and they last 10 times longer. Those are the big booming lightning strikes. Those are also ones that can cause house fires and wildfires. They tend to do a lot of damage because of that parameter that they have with them. So a very dangerous storm. So I'm going to turn off the lightning just because it gets really cluttered in here. What I want to show you is the wind speeds because lightning popped back on. Sorry about that. But you can see within this storm, we're getting what's basically a downburst. And a downburst is just the air rushing out of the storm in all directions. And this is producing a lot of damage in some locations. Strong winds up north Belmont towards Lake Wylie and then heading to the east. So this storm is actually probably going to continue to produce some damaging winds here for a while. Watch as it kind of develops and just sits there. Now this will likely collapse and that outflow is going to produce some additional storms. Very heavy rain and strong winds also in York County, but no warning with that yet, but that's still a pretty nasty storm. You don't want to be outside in any of these with the lightning. Got a storm that's weakening down over Cabarrus County. Also some new storms trying to pop up southeastern Catawba County into parts of Iredell County. These storms moving off to the north. I want to say they're moving because here's the thing. A lot of folks on radar, they'll look at their radar app and go, the storm's going to miss me. The thing about storms this time of year is they don't really move much. They tend to bubble up right over you. They dissipate and then their outflow, that rush of cool air, produces additional storms around them. So what it looks like storms are moving around you, it's just they haven't formed over you. Literally this time of year, you need the storm to form over you. It's unlikely to see a storm form one county away and move over you. It's just not the way these pop-up storms work. We don't have a cold front. There's no low pressure system. These are bubbling up kind of like you would see the bubbles on the bottom of a pot of boiling water. They're just going to be random, and wherever they pop up, they're going to bubble up there. And that's kind of what happens in the heating of the day. But right now we've got this cluster, which is really going gangbusters right here over parts of Charlotte. Let me show you some of the rainfall amounts. I'm going to turn the lightning off because so far you see how scattered these are. This is a really good indication of who's seen some really heavy rain. If you go under some of these, you're talking 1 to 2 inches. And then there's areas around them where there's nothing. That's pretty typical for these type of storms. So let me widen this out one more time just to show you the overall view. We talked a little bit about this positive and lightning strikes, negative lightning strike thing. And let me go over this again, because I think this is really important about what the difference between the two strikes are. Again, positive strikes, 5 to 10% of all strikes, negative about 90%. Look at the difference in voltage. 1 billion volts for a positive strike, and 10 times longer means they're both 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit, but one lasts 10 times longer. So you can imagine, easier to cause fires, cause issues. The other thing about positive strikes that make them dangerous, and this is sometimes why they get referred to as the bolt from the blue. I love showing this graphic because you can see the positive strikes can strike way away from the top of the storm and they go out like this. And they tend to hit from sometimes what's blue skies or clear skies above the person, but the storm is off in the distance. This is often why we always tell you if there's any thunder or you see a storm anywhere in your area, sometimes within 20 miles, you need to seek shelter. And in the mountains, this can be particularly dangerous because a storm can form on one side of the mountain and you're on the other side and it's not raining, doesn't even look dark, but that storm can grow to 40 or 50,000 feet tall and these positive strikes are coming out of the top of the storm. So imagine you had a giant mountain that was 50 or 60,000 feet tall, and you could see the top of it. There likely is a chance that that could produce a lightning bolt that could get down to you. So we see this quite often with some of these bolts from the blue, and always very dangerous storm. That's why if you've ever been at your kid's soccer game or baseball game or t-ball game or been at the pool and you're wondering, why are they clearing everybody out? It's thunder, it's far enough away. You're too close. If you hear thunder, you need to go indoors and wait 30 minutes until after the last lightning strike or thunder you hear. That's why they do that. It's a safety precaution, especially in an area where one strike can hit a lot of people in a very small area. So again, severe thunderstorm warning continues for this area, southwestern Mecklenburg County. It's technically up until 7:45. Whoops, sorry about that. 7:45, but I'm curious if they're going to let this go, because these storms they haven't been lasting long enough to verify some of these warnings. So I'm going to show you something real quickly. Let me let that, sorry, it's blank. Is that blank? No, it should be blank. I'm going to show you what these microbursts are producing out there. I have a really good explainer graphic, so I have to pull it up. A downburst. Got to grab it real quick. So let me grab this, and I'll display it here real quickly. Bear with me as I pull this up, because I'm doing this right as I'm talking to you. Okay, so I'm bringing up a couple different graphics here to show you guys. I'm going to pull up this first one, and hopefully this will help you understand what's going on with these downbursts. So a day like today, where we've got these strong storms building up to very high altitudes in the atmosphere, the temperature drops off real quickly with height, and in some cases up there around 45 or 50,000 feet, the air temperature could be 25, 30 degrees below zero. That's why we're getting ice crystals up there. That's also why we're getting lightning, because at the top of the storm, we're getting, the crystallization up there. So what happens is, I'm actually going to come back to this so you guys can see me, is what happens on a day like today, the really hot, humid air gets pulled up, it gets forced up here through momentum, it keeps going up, gets really cold and icy up there, creates a lot of lightning. But again, that's cold, dry air now, that's really heavy and dense. The air down here is warm and muggy, that's very buoyant, so they don't mix very well. So what happens is this comes crashing back down, hits the ground and spreads out in all directions and creates a downburst. This can actually accelerate. That downburst can pick up speed because it gets heavier and heavier, because the temperature difference between it and the surrounding warm, muggy air increases. That difference increases as it comes down to the ground. So it actually can accelerate. And when it hits the ground, they call it a downburst because it spreads out in all directions. And one of the best ways I can explain this, and I've done this a lot, if you ever had a big bucket of water and thrown it on your lawn and it all hits at once, you see all the grass get splattered out in all directions. That happens to the wind, and the wind spreads out in all directions, but instead of blades of grass, it can be trees or power lines or homes. So that happens quite a bit in the summertime with these pulse type storms that we get around here. And that's literally what we're seeing right now on the radar. I mean, I can watch these things build up, and just to give you an example of that is we can use one of our tools, our Doppler slicer, we call it fondly, because we can take the storm and I can slice it in half and kind of show you this in 3D. And you can see how tall these storms are getting. Like right there, you see how tall that storm is? This is the storm in Mecklenburg County. Now, look at what's going on here. If you look carefully, the storm is topping out around 50,000 feet. What happens is this is going to come up to here, and then I can actually watch it on the 3D radar come crashing back to the ground sometimes as a big splat. So let me see if I can actually loop this, and we'll see if we can get it to play on here. Sometimes it'll play, sometimes it won't. It's going to take it a while to load. So there you go. So it's loading up. So you can see how that updraft is going up right there. It's getting up there, and then if we were to sit and watch this for any length of time, we could actually start to see that descend down to the surface, which is pretty cool to watch sometimes when you see it start descending back down to the ground. And this is what will create those downbursts. But I mean, 40, 50,000 foot storm is a huge storm, and the fact that they're getting that tall today kind of shows you just how dangerous these can be. Let me erase that, we'll put it back on there, because I'm actually starting to see it come back down to the ground. There we go. Why it backs up like that. So just in the time frame that I showed you this, It looks like it's been coming down to the ground. So here's the storm right there. So look right there. If you look carefully at this storm, look at that core right there. Now this core was probably up here last time the radar scanned it. And I bet you the next time the radar comes around, it's going to be the ground. It's actually descending down in what we call the downdraft. So let me see if I can back this up, if it'll actually. So you can see it loading up here. Watch that thing build, and then it starts coming back down to the ground. And if we just sit here and watch this, I guarantee you'll see this thing start to come back down to the ground. So pretty impressive to see these type of setups today when these storms get this big and produce these splats. And sometimes we call them splats because on the radar, it'll look like paint hitting the map and spreading out. And we know that's wind. It's not paint, but they look like splats on the radar. So let me save this real quickly, and I'm going to go back to the radar view again. Just to show you what this looks like if we were to look at this with the velocity data, which is far more impressive. So let me play this. You can actually see the wind spreading out in all directions. And if I pop this up, you can see this is winds towards the radar, winds away from the radar. So essentially what you're looking at here are the winds spreading out in this direction and spreading out in that direction. That's that splat. That's the in this case, not water, but there's water there because it's some rain, but air hitting the ground and spreading out 27 miles per hour that way and 22 miles per hour. Now this will get higher and higher through time, but watch as I play this. You can actually see how these, well, we kind of jokingly call them splats because they kind of splat on the radar. You can see the wind spreading out in all direction as these storms collapse. So these are the Doppler velocities or the Doppler winds, which are showing up here, producing these splats of wind. So that's why you're seeing so much wind damage today. We actually had a microburst caused quite a bit of damage here in western Lincoln County, damaged several homes, looks like mobile homes, and maybe a barn, a roof got ripped off. So not uncommon to see that. Let's go back to the Doppler slicer to see if this thing's descending anymore. Haven't seen it descend much more. But the other thing, got to watch out for this thing. The fact that this thing is sitting here for so long, I think I'm going to get a little more concerned that we might see a flash flood warning issued for this cell, especially the Steel Creek area. Right here, here's Westinghouse, Shopton Road, there's Sledge Road. This is 160, which is coming up here, comes all the way up. And then you get over here towards Shopton, getting towards the prime outlets over in that area. So that right there, boy, that is some really heavy rain right there. Let me pinpoint some of these roads here. So that's Planters Row. There's Orchard Grass Court. That's Indian Hills Lane. Then up in here, that's Westinghouse, Anna Rose Road. So these neighborhoods in here, Steel Creek area, are just getting absolutely clobbered with heavy rain. That's probably sideways rain. Probably looks like a hurricane in there right now with the amount of wind and rain coming down through those storms. So I turned the lightning off just because there's just so much of it out there. The lightning is just ridiculous right now with these storms. So again, these storms are going to be around for a little bit longer, and what's going to happen is this storm right here that you see on the map is likely going to weaken in another 15 minutes, and then it's going to push out an outflow boundary. So watch down in here for further development, and then I'm going to watch up in here to see if we get any more development back up in that area, just because some of those areas haven't been worked over by some of the storms earlier today. What I mean by that is there's still some fuel, some heat and humidity left there. Anywhere there's been a storm today, sometimes the storms will eat up or use up some of the fuel, the thunderstorm cape that we call it today. So as we go through the evening hours, heads up in the Lake Wylie area, eastern Gaston County, western Mecklenburg, but also most of York County. And I would watch in Gaston, Union, Lancaster, Chester County. I think in this area we're going to see some redevelopment. And then up in here, this area that was hit hard earlier today, parts of Lincoln County into southern Iredell, and maybe even Rowan would be another area that I would watch closely here over the next couple of hours for additional warnings out there. But again, sunsets this evening, we're coming up. Siri wanted to talk to me. Sunsets at 8:35. So we are, 1 hour and 13 minutes away from sunset. So once we get closer to sunset, that should help deter these things a little bit, but that means we still got about an hour and a half of storms left to go. So I'll post updates online on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram And obviously here at WCNC, if anything should change, we'll have the crawls across the bottom of your screen. Also, if you have any pictures or video that you can safely send me, please send them to me. Private message to me, email. It's easier to download these things. I can show them on the air if I have to, but anyway, you can get them to me. We'll figure out something. I'll communicate with you if I can, and figure out a way to get them, but please send them. Love to pass them along to not only the Weather Service, but let other people know what's going on across their area. Hope you guys are having a great night, and I'll see you tonight at 11. See you then. All right, I'm actually going to jump back in here real quickly because I'm just getting some reports. Thanks for sending them in, of some pretty large hail falling in the Steel Creek area. So initially we knew there'd be large wind and rain, but it looks like right there, that purple area, that looks to be some hail right now. And I'm surprised I didn't recognize it when I was looking at the Doppler slicer, that we saw that descending core, that it might have been some hail. So let's go back to here. Yeah, definitely got some hail in there. Ooh, that's a big, let me widen this out so we can actually see what we're looking at here. Sometimes the slicer gets too, there we go. So let me loop this back a little bit here. All right, so you can see that core building up there, and then it looks like it's descending. So that was likely some small hail in there. The fact that this cell at one point was 50,000 feet tall, probably not a shock that we had some hail in there, because as I mentioned, you know, the part about these storms spiking up there and producing lightning, when they get up to those ice crystals, is also they can end up producing some small hail. The problem with the hail this time of year is, you know, that hail probably started out much bigger than when it hit the ground. It melts on the whole way down. So the amount of melting is sometimes difficult to. So right there, you see that, we call that an overshooting top, jumped up there to about 50,000 feet. That's probably where we started to see some of the hail produced from this cell. I'm here at the station, and I tell you what, man, I can hear this thunder and lightning. It is crazy how much of it we have outside the studio right now. This is a doozy of a storm moving into Mecklenburg County right now. So stay indoors, everybody. Do not go outside until this storm passes. This is the real deal right here in southwestern Mecklenburg, southeastern Gaston, and the Lake Wylie area. The cloud to ground lightning, and I mean, I don't know if you guys can hear it over my mic here, but if you're anywhere in here, you know you're hearing it outside your house right now. This thing is just loud as can be, producing a ton of cloud to ground lightning right now across the area. Let me tally. I usually tally these on 15-minute increments, just because 15 minutes gives me a real good idea of what's going on with the lightning. So we'll see the lightning, 187 lightning strikes just in the past 15 minutes. If I widen this out to 30 minutes, we'll do that. That's a 30-minute window. Let's see how many we've had in the last 30 minutes. 455. And my lightning detector at my house, let's see what we got at the house, because I can give you a pretty good indication there. I got a lightning detector at home. So in the last 3 hours, I've had 2,300 lightning strikes recorded at the home. And it's going up now, 2,400. It is going crazy. I'm getting one about every 10 seconds, if even faster than that, every 1 second now. 2,500. Man, it's really piling up. So we're really getting some lightning strikes here. Again, that's a sign. Anytime I see lightning strikes like that, folks, that's a sign that we've got a lot of, this storm is really tall. We got a lot of ice crystallization going on at the top of this storm. And you're probably wondering, what does ice have to do? Well, that's how lightning forms. Grapple is kind of like looks like styrofoam BBs. It's kind of a soft ice at the top of these storms, literally just like static charge in the wintertime. We know you rub your feet across the ground and you got a sweater on or socks and you zap the door handle or you zap someone in your house. What happens in these storms, those ice crystals rub against each other in the top of the storm and they build up huge charges. So the more crystals in the storm and the more up and down motion that they're rubbing against each other, they're creating a huge charge. So we know there's a huge static charge being developed in there, and definitely ice crystallization. Anytime I see a spike in lightning like that, if I were to do a giant cross section, which I did earlier, I can tell you that storm is probably going to be one of the taller storms out there. And just to show you, I'm going to do a big cross section right across here, and I'm going to turn the lightning off, and we'll turn off all the warnings because there's too many of them on there. You can see, whoops. I didn't mean to do that. Let me delete that. I grabbed the wrong tool. Let's go back up here and do that again. But you could see the illustration there of why that's the tallest storm out there. By turning it on its side and doing this cross section, I can see that that's the tallest storm over southeastern Mech. You can see it right there topping out. We'll zoom in. Most of these storms are around 30,000 feet. Then you get to this one in Mech and you're at 40 and a little appendage trying to go up to 50,000. So it's not a shock that when we look at the lightning, and I'll turn it back on here in a second, where's all the lightning? Look at where it's at. The biggest amount of lightning is right there with this storm because there's more ice crystals going on up there. There's some lightning here with these storms spiking up. There's a little bit of ice there, a little bit of ice there, but way more in that storm. And that's why you're seeing the tremendous amount of lightning being displayed. And when you're taking the moisture that we had today and pushing it up there, it's fairly easy to create a lot of lightning in a day like today. That's why places like Florida, get so much lightning in the summer. They have these storms every day and they can get intense heating and produce this cloud to ground lightning strikes. So really impressive out there with the amount of lightning, but let's look at the wind again. The winds are still coming out of this thing really strong. Yeah, nice little microburst signature still showing, not as strong as earlier, but still there's the outflow boundary right there. That's that green thing pushing out there. So this is pushing this way. I'd watch for some development here in southern Cabarrus, northern Union County possibly over the next hour or so. Let's look at the rainfall. So we're starting to get some pretty good rainfall rates in here. 1.9 inches of rain has fallen. Let's look at the actual rates. I said rainfall rates, but I actually meant rainfall. The actual rainfall rates, holy moly. That is some serious rainfall. So this is per hour, how much is coming down. So Westinghouse to Shopton to the airport, 3.5 inches of rain per hour. I'm surprised we haven't had a flash flood warning for this yet. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not hearing, what I want to check real quickly as I'm talking to you is I'm going to pull up the rain gauges from over in that part of the county. Wow, is the thunder coming down out here? Stream gauges, here we go. Bringing up the live fins gauges here. Okay, so verification purposes, it looks like Garrison Road gauge is at 2.71. Lake Wiley and Withers Cove is at 2.73. So we've had some pretty significant rain in there. That's matching up pretty well with, these are rainfall rates, remember, not rainfall amounts. So this is the reason rainfall rates are different. It's per hour. It's like saying I'm currently going 60 miles per hour. It doesn't mean I gone 60 miles. It means if I keep driving this speed for an hour, I would be going 60 miles. I would go 60 miles. In this case, this is rainfall rates per hour. If it rains for an entire hour at that rate, that's how much rain you would get. So the rate is a little bit more different than, because it's probably not going to last an hour in all these locations. But again, that is a strong storm. So I was going to sign off here. I'm going to sign off now. But what I'll do for folks watching on Facebook YouTube. Where are we streaming? We're streaming everywhere. Twitch. Even I think we're on our website as well. All the different Facebook pages we're streaming this currently on. I will leave the radar up just so you guys can keep. It'll be live radar. It'll auto update with warnings as they come in. And if anything should change, I'll jump back in to the live stream. But I do want to leave this up for folks who maybe lose power or are away from their TV. Who just want to monitor the radar. I'll keep this up, and I'm going to be over here in the Weather Center keeping an eye on things. But again, please stay indoors until this storm passes. If you have electronics you don't want to get zapped, trust me, everyone has surge protectors and they think that's going to protect you. Surge protectors are for surges of electricity, not for direct lightning strikes. If you take a direct hit somewhere in your house, those things aren't going to help you. My computer, some of my high-end stuff, I don't want to damage. I'll just completely detach it. I'll unplug it completely. So just keep an eye on that stuff. Keep the kids away from the windows. Keep them inside. Don't take a shower or jump in the bathtub. I know you think it's something your mom told you and it's an old wives' tale. It's absolutely legit, because what happens is if this lightning hits the water line outside your house and you're in the shower, it's going to come through the water. Anything that conducts electricity that's connected to the outside of your house can bring lightning in. So think about it. The cable, the electrical lines, and the water lines. So you don't have to be directly hit. If those things that they're connected to get hit, it can send a charge into you. So if you're in the shower or bathtub, the pipes go into the ground, they go outside, they're running underground to a meter, to the street. If any of that stuff should get hit, if the tree gets hit and the tree roots are next to the water line, you can put it together. What's going to happen? It doesn't matter what your pipes are made of, because water conducts electricity. As long as there's water flowing through it, even a PVC pipe, you're going to get shocked. So it's not an old wives' tale. Just stay out, stay off corded devices, stay away from the windows, and stay out of the shower tub until this thing passes, which hopefully will happen soon. But the lightning looks like it's going down a little bit, so maybe we're seeing a weakening trend. But I'll leave the radar up and running for you guys to keep an eye on as we go through the next, hopefully not too much, maybe 20 minutes. The warning's up for another 10 minutes or so. All right, I thought I'd jump on here real quickly. The severe thunderstorm warning has expired for Mecklenburg County, but two things to keep an eye on. I can put my mic back on. Two areas that I'm watching for maybe another warning is this one in central Mecklenburg. It looks like some new development there. And also up here in northeast northwest Cabarrus County, it looks like some new storms developing. So don't be surprised if we see an additional warning. I'm really shocked we haven't seen a flash flood warning for the western part of the county because that storm has really been that intense. So that's the part of the storm I'm watching right now down here in the southwest corner of Meck, but I'm also now seeing uptown flare back up, eastern Gaston, and this storm is exploding in northwest Cabarrus County. So if there's any additional warnings, I'll be posting them online as well, and we'll crawl them across the bottom of the screen. But with the warning expired now, I'm going to end this live stream. If anything should change, I'll be back on my Facebook page momentarily.